to the Music News Blitz.
Welcome to Artist Spotlight. I'm Liv.
And I'm Maisie. And today we're talking about whether music journalism, is it pointless or is it not? So I'm just going to say some statistics and then we're going to have a talk about what we think about it. So the first statistic I've got is the Entertainment Retailers Association UK music consumption hit an all-time high in 2024, with the equivalent of 201.4 million albums consumed, the highest figure in 20 years. So do you think music journalism is still relevant? And do you think people still read music reviews? And should listeners read them and base an opinion on that or their own subjective opinion?
I think it depends on the type of music journalism, because personally I don't read reviews. I think the most I've ever looked at is sometimes with Lana Del Rey especially, sometimes I'll have no idea what she's on about in her songs. So I'll have a look up and read some reviews of what people think the lyrics are about, type of thing. I enjoy reading those because I like to see different interpretations and see what people think about it. And then I'll kind of come to a decision by myself by the end of reading a few of them, maybe. So I think it is a good thing, but not all of music journalism is reviews. It's just news about people going on tour, stuff like that. And I think that's important because obviously everyone wants to know that, and maybe not everyone is on social media, and people aren't following all these artists that they actually enjoy on Instagram. So maybe the news is their only way of figuring out that someone they really enjoy is going on tour.
Yeah, I think out of all honesty, music journalism, or the journalism I see to do with artists, isn't necessarily to actually do with their songs. It's more to do with gossip, isn't it? And who they're dating, or supposedly they're doing a tour, or this happened at their concert. Which, is that the right thing? Is that what journalism is turning to? But then I guess that's what people are reading, because no one really reads articles now. It's just declining. It's more kind of social media than actual articles. So maybe that's the way that they're just capturing audiences.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do read that stuff. I quite enjoy reading about that type of thing, but whether it's real journalism is kind of a different subject, I feel like. But again, there is some reviews that I will read about certain songs or certain albums, but it's not really something that I keep up with, so I'm not sure how important it is these days, because people just make their own opinions now, and with social media, everyone's got their opinion on social media, especially with TikTok. And I think nowadays that is where people find what they're looking for. If people want to see what people's interpretations are of a song, they will just go to TikTok and have a look.
I do think sometimes when new albums come out that have been in the works for a long period of time and the fans have been waiting for the album to come out, it is talked about kind of on social media, on TikTok, and people say kind of their opinion on it and whether they like the album, kind of what the inspiration is. But the thing is that the continuity of that isn't throughout all artists. It's only massive artists. You don't get smaller independent artists.
I think that is a big change that I would like to see within, especially digital journalism. Because I find random little artists through social media, and you can't really keep up with them unless they're posting themselves, because a lot of news websites are just focusing on the mainstream people like Taylor Swift and whoever else, the mainstream people. But I think it would be nice to have more journalism about more independent artists, more about DJs and all of that.
Yeah. Now, for the second statistic, research by the University of Cambridge showed that professional reviews have a much bigger effect on lesser-known artists than established superstars. Can one review break an artist? do you think artists ignore critics, and can bad reviews generate publicity? So especially for smaller artists like we've just spoken about, the effect and the impact that bad reviews could have on their career. Obviously, the University of Cambridge have proven that it can have a massive impact on the success of smaller artists compared to bigger artists. So do you think maybe that's a reason that they're sustaining from doing it? And like, bad publicity is still PR. You know how they said any publicity is good publicity. I mean, like, you look at the Kanye West and what happened with him, it's still publicity at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah, I do agree with that, and especially with the mainstream people, because I know with Harry Styles' tour that he's on right now, the first few nights, all over social media, it was just a lot of complaints about the stage setup, his set list, just a lot of complaints, and I think he took that on board, and he actually did change the way he was doing his sets. So I think it can be a good thing.
But then should smaller artists like still get it? Because that's the feedback of the audience. But maybe there's kind of the idea that because they're smaller artists, they would be more focused on the fans and maybe they'd hear them better than bigger artists. So obviously saying publicity, any publicity is good publicity. With smaller artists missing out on this, obviously it's not hurting their reputation, which is a good thing, but at the same time they aren't getting that highlight in the media, and that's where the gap is becoming bigger, maybe.
Yeah, I do think even if it is a bad review, then they're still getting noticed, and maybe that is a good thing because not everyone's going to agree with that bad review, and maybe it is a way of them getting a bigger platform, maybe.
For the next statistic, according to TikTok, 84% of songs that entered the Billboard Global 200 in 2024 went viral on TikTok before they were charted. Publications like Pitchfork still attract around 2.6 million digital readers and have 7.4 million social media follows. So the first statistic shows how, well, we all know that songs go viral on TikTok and then they're massively played on Spotify and streamed. But showing with Pitchfork about how many digital readers they've got compared to their social media following, do you think social media versus professional critics, there is a massive gap, and they shouldn't be awarded so highly, the people on social media, because they don't have the right accreditations or maybe the right skills to publicly say something that could actually be incorrect, or the right research to do it and connections. And how do you think TikTok reviews compare to professional critics, and who would you trust more, I guess?
I suppose that if you are reading a professional critic, then it's going to be more about how well the lyrics are, the beats of the songs, whether it's too similar to other songs. Whereas I think fans, especially if it's just someone who's really well known and mainstream like Harry Styles, then I think fans will kind of not force themselves into liking something, but it's kind of like you've followed him for so long and you loved all his past albums, so maybe it's like you'll kind of say something positive about the new album even if you don't necessarily agree with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think also, do you think journalists have a pressure to write good reviews, especially for bigger artists? Because obviously these people with a massive fan base, if they say something that's, I don't know, not particularly what the fans believe or would want to hear, the backlash could be really quite detrimental to that journalist, and that kind of fear makes the journalist not want to publicize stuff that might be seen as I don't know, different or not the view of which the fans have.
Yeah, I do think being controversial now is a huge deal, and I think a lot of people are trying to stray away from that as much as they possibly can. But then I'm not sure if that's actually a good thing because you're not getting an honest opinion.
Yeah. So there's a statistic that the International Centre for Journalists found that 73% of all journalists worldwide have experienced online harassment, which I think is insane. That's such a large number of journalists, like the proportion. And why isn't there more being done about it? And if there is this massive scale problem, people are going to be afraid of posting like unpopular opinions and speaking out loud and whistleblowing, and publishing it. So are we just writing and producing stuff that people want to hear? Is it real, authentic journalism?
Yeah, I do think it's going down that road a little bit with digital media where it is just you are trying to please everyone, but then again, it's not honest and it's not. I think also people want something different and want to see people's different opinions, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. But then again, if someone doesn't agree with it, they're going to get quite a lot of hate and backlash.
And do you think it's the artist's responsibility to defend journalists to an extent if they're receiving such bad backlash?
I guess it kind of depends on the situation. With like Kanye West and all his stuff that was going on for a while, there was so much negative stuff about him in the media, but I guess it weren't necessarily journalists that were. I guess Kanye fans would give like hate to these journalists, but again, it's the artist's actions that has caused that review and all of that. So it's a bit like depends on the situation type of thing, I think.
And on the flip side, what do you think about, the harassment that artists will get from these reviews and whether it's worth it, and like the mental health of an artist if they're producing all these songs and then they get such bad backlash, and how that can deteriorate due to one article?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of, again, each to the situation. I guess with the Harry Styles stuff that I was talking about and his tour, I guess that probably would have been quite bad on his mental health, and he's put all this effort into this album. He spent years working on it, and then he's spent however long making up this great setup for the tour and how he wants to produce it all to his fans, and then he gets all this hate and all these journalists are reporting on it, then maybe it's not a good thing. No.
Just as another kind of thing to talk about, obviously journalists are meant to be objective, but do you think with music, as doing music reviews, you could actually be objective? Because I personally think music is subjective. Everyone has different music tastes and you're going to have different opinions about different songs, so you couldn't truly be objective.
No, I agree. I don't think music journalism isn't necessarily the traditional way of journalism. I think it is a different route, and that's something that I quite enjoy, to be honest. I think it's a good thing when the news isn't, when it's not very serious news, then I don't think it necessarily has to be super objective, and maybe you can take your own personal opinions into it in a way.
I guess where the subjectiveness comes in, that's when, your own like personal opinions are left vulnerable because you open yourself for criticism because you're putting out your opinion. It's not an objective take, it is your opinion. And I guess it's just finding a line where you can state that it is actually your opinion and it's not facts, because obviously these large fan bases, you're opening yourself to criticism. Maybe this is just something you have to, I don't know, come complacent with because you are putting it out there.
Yeah, definitely. And now it's time for Skip or Savour. I've chosen 3 songs from Maisie. All of these songs are songs that are been heavily criticised in the media, so we'll see what Maisie's opinion is of them. So the first song is Shake It Off by Taylor Swift.
I didn't know this was heavily criticised.
I think it's more so the artist, like Taylor Swift, artist who has been criticised throughout her entire career non-stop, and I think that is a big one where it's like a lot of people just say like the lyrics are so repetitive and it's just a bit boring. I think that's what I've seen a lot of people say about it.
I'm not a fan. I'm gonna skip because I don't know. I'm just not a Taylor Swift fan. I think she's overplayed, and I'm not. It's nothing to do with her as an artist, but it's overplayed, and also it's kind of when we had kind of like Katy Perry in the 2000s and stuff. It was that time, but now we've moved out of that kind of ideology of music and trends, and we're moving on to different stuff, and that I don't think she's moving on to new things.
Yeah, like her, I don't know what it was called. She did 2 in the same year, and it was like Evermore and then something else. Don't remember what the other one was called, but I actually really enjoyed those albums. I thought they were very different to what she's done before. But then most recent album, I haven't listened to all of it. I've only listened to a couple of songs. I think that's very similar to the style that she started off with. Yeah. Shake It Off is always one that I'll always sing if it comes on, but it's not something I would choose to put on. The other is Dance Monkey by Tones and I.
This song was played everywhere. This song was played everywhere when it was popular. It was massive. I think I will say Save, only because I did used to listen to that song when it came out, but you don't really hear much about her now. Like, I don't know what she's doing now or producing.
No, this is the only song I've ever heard from her. I honestly, every time it comes on, I hate it so much. And it was such a radio song, like your mum would pick you up from school or something and it'd be on as soon as you get in the car on the radio. It was awful. I hated it.
Yeah, I think it was obviously massively overplayed, but
yeah,
it's very nostalgic to me, and I think it throws me back to when I was younger.
Yeah. And then the last one is Happy by Pharrell Williams.
Skip. I just think it's overplayed. Wasn't it played at like Ice Age or something? One of those movies. I don't know what.
Played in a movie, but I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, I don't know why. That's all I remember when I think of the song. It's just overplayed. Like, it seems kind of old, and we just need to move on now.
Yeah. These are all quite old songs. This song though, I used to do dance when I was younger, and we'd have like a big finale song, and it'd be like a big surprise at the end of the year what it was going to be. And one year it was this, and obviously when you're practicing dances, you hear the same song 1 million times, and it was just getting on the absolute nerves. It was awful.
So what's controversial about Happy?
Just no one likes it.
Was that a TikTok trend?
Yeah, I think so. But obviously it's just, again, repeated lyrics. It just says happy about 1 million times. So
yeah, I'm wondering if it's actually them that write the songs though, because you know how many artists get kind of like ghostwriters. Yeah,
I think nowadays it is more people writing for themselves because it's more like respected, but when these songs were coming out, I think it was just not them writing them.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening in. Stay tuned for what's coming up next for Artist Spotlight.